Late one summer evening, Mark found himself driving alone on a desolate stretch of highway known as Birchwood Road. He was heading back from a friend's house after a long day of catching up. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow on the road ahead. As Mark drove, he couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. The night was unusually silent, and the only sound was the soft hum of his car's engine. The trees lining the road seemed to loom over him like silent sentinels. About halfway through his journey, Mark noticed a hitchhiker standing by the side of the road. Dressed in tattered clothes and carrying a worn-out backpack, the stranger had an air of melancholy about him. Mark's better judgment told him to keep driving, but he couldn't ignore the nagging guilt that gnawed at him. He slowed down and rolled down his window. "Need a ride?" he called out to the hitchhiker. The man's face broke into a tired smile as he climbed into the car. He introduced himself as Daniel and thanked Mark for his kindness. The conversation started off casual, but Mark couldn't help but notice a hint of sadness in Daniel's voice. As they continued to talk, Mark learned that Daniel had been traveling for weeks, trying to escape a past that haunted him. He spoke cryptically of regrets and mistakes, his words dripping with a sense of impending doom. Mark's unease grew, and he found himself glancing at the rearview mirror more often than usual. Time seemed to stretch as they drove in silence. The road seemed to wind on forever, with no signs of civilization in sight. The atmosphere grew heavier, and Mark's heart raced. Suddenly, Daniel's voice broke the silence. "Have you ever felt like the road is alive? Like it's watching and listening?" Mark's grip on the steering wheel tightened. "What do you mean?" he asked cautiously. Daniel's gaze was fixed on the road ahead. Birchwood Road has seen so much, heard so much. It has a way of echoing the secrets of those who traverse it. Mark's pulse quickened. He felt a knot of fear forming in the pit of his stomach. He stole a glance at Daniel, whose eyes seemed to hold a distant, haunted look. As they continued driving, Mark noticed a strange phenomenon. The trees on either side of the road seemed to lean closer, their branches forming eerie shapes that resembled faces. Shadows danced in the moonlight, casting unsettling patterns on the asphalt. "I should never have taken this road," Daniel whispered, his voice barely audible. Mark's heart pounded as he navigated the winding road. The atmosphere had grown suffocating, and he felt as if the very road was conspiring against them. As they rounded a bend, Mark's headlights illuminated a figure standing in the middle of the road. He slammed on the brakes, his heart racing. It was a woman, her hair cascading down her shoulders, her white dress billowing in the wind. Daniel let out a strangled cry. "No, not her, please, not her!" The woman's face was pale, her eyes empty voids. She extended a hand toward the car, her fingers brushing against the windshield. A blood-curdling scream filled the air, and Mark felt a surge of dread like he had never experienced before. Without thinking, he slammed his foot on the gas pedal and sped away from the haunting scene. The road seemed to stretch endlessly as he drove, each mile feeling like an eternity. Daniel's sobs echoed in the car, a mournful symphony to the horrors they had witnessed. Finally, the first rays of dawn began to break through the horizon. Mark's heart still raced, and he glanced at Daniel, who was now slumped in his seat, his eyes vacant. "You have to let me go," Daniel whispered. "I can't be saved, not by this road." As Mark reached the edge of Birchwood Road, he pulled over and turned to Daniel, who had vanished into thin air. To this day, Mark can't forget that fateful night drive and the whispered secrets of Birchwood Road. He's convinced that some roads hold more than just pavement and asphalt. They carry the echoes of those who have traveled them, and the whispers of the past can still be heard by those brave enough to listen. On a moonlit night in the heart of the Ozarks, Jake found himself on a solitary night drive, his path illuminated by the soft glow of his car's headlights. The winding road, flanked by thick woods, seemed like a portal to an otherworldly realm as he ventured deeper into the darkness. As an adventure seeker, Jake often took night drives to clear his mind and escape the monotony of daily life. This particular night, he was exploring an unfamiliar route he had stumbled upon during an afternoon hike. The dense forest seemed to come alive with the nocturnal sounds of nature, a symphony of crickets and rustling leaves. As Jake rounded a sharp bend, his headlights caught a figure standing by the roadside. He instinctively slowed down, his heart racing at the sight of a young woman in a flowing white dress. Her back was turned, her long dark hair cascading down her shoulders. Concerned for her safety, Jake pulled over and rolled down his window. "Hey, are you okay?" he called out. The woman turned slowly, her pale face illuminated by the car's headlights. Her eyes were hollow like two empty voids staring into the depths of his soul. A shiver ran down Jake's spine, but he tried to mask his unease. "Need a ride?" he asked, though his voice trembled slightly. The woman's lips parted, but no sound emerged. Instead, she extended a slender arm, her fingers pointing in the direction he was heading. Jake hesitated for a moment, his mind racing with caution. However, the pull of his adventurous spirit overcame his better judgment, and he gestured for her to hop in. As she entered the car, the atmosphere grew cold, and a sense of unease settled over Jake like a heavy blanket. Her presence felt unnatural, as if she were an apparition from another realm. He could barely make out the features of her face, which seemed to shift and blur in the darkness. Striking up a conversation, Jake asked her where she was headed. To his surprise, she didn't respond. Instead, her hollow eyes remained fixed on the road ahead, as if she were lost in a trance. Jake's curiosity was tinged with apprehension. The miles passed in silence, broken only by the faint hum of the engine and the haunting rustle of the wind through the trees. Jake stole glances at the woman, whose gaze remained locked on the horizon. Her presence felt otherworldly, as if she were a spectral passenger on a journey through the night. Eventually, Jake approached a small bridge that spanned a quiet stream. As they crossed the bridge, the woman's gaze shifted from the road to the water below. Her hollow eyes seemed to pierce through the darkness, fixated on something unseen. "Are you all right?" Jake asked, his voice tinged with concern. The woman's response was chilling. In a voice devoid of emotion, she whispered, "This is where I died." Jake's heart skipped a beat. He glanced at her, his mind racing. The air grew heavy with an inexplicable sorrow, as if the weight of her words had cast a dark cloud over the car. He could feel a chilling presence, a sense that he was no longer alone on that desolate road. Summoning all his courage, Jake pulled over at a safe spot and turned to the woman. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice quivering. The woman's eyes met his, and for the first time he saw a glimmer of emotion. She spoke softly, recounting a tragic tale of a car accident that had claimed her life on that very bridge. Her voice wavered with a mixture of sadness and longing, and as she finished her story, she looked at Jake with an intensity that sent shivers down his spine. As the night wore on, Jake continued to listen to her haunting tale. He learned of her unfulfilled dreams, her lost love, and the eternal wanderlust that kept her bound to the earth. He realized that he was in the presence of a spirit, a vanishing hitchhiker doomed to relive her final moments. As the first light of dawn began to break, the woman's form started to fade, her outline growing fainter with each passing moment. She turned to Jake, her eyes holding a mix of gratitude and sorrow. "Thank you for listening," she whispered, her voice a mere echo of the night. With that, the woman vanished completely, leaving Jake alone on the road. He sat there, the weight of the encounter sinking in, a mixture of awe and trepidation coursing through his veins. To this day, Jake can't forget the vanishing hitchhiker, the night he crossed paths with a spirit trapped between worlds. His night drives hold a new significance, a reminder that the darkness can hide secrets beyond imagination, and the road can lead to encounters that defy explanation. In the heart of the Midwest, Alex embarked on a late-night road trip to visit family. The route stretched through desolate farmlands and remote countryside. The moon hung low, casting an eerie glow over the endless expanse. As Alex cruised along the empty highway, their thoughts wandered. The radio's soft hum kept them company, occasionally interrupted by the crackle of static. Miles rolled by and the isolation of the road began to take hold. In the midst of the solitude, a ringing broke the silence. Alex's heart skipped a beat as they glanced at the phone, illuminating the dashboard with its blue light. The caller ID displayed a string of unfamiliar digits, all zeros. Curiosity mingled with apprehension as they answered the call. "Hello?" Alex's voice quivered. Static crackled over the line and a distorted voice emerged, barely audible. "Help me! Stranded! Darkness!" Panic surged through Alex. "Who is this? Where are you?" The voice grew fainter, the words dissolving into a garbled mess. "Dark coming? Help!" Before they could respond, the call abruptly disconnected, leaving Alex staring at the phone in bewilderment. Heart pounding, they dialed 911, recounting the bizarre call and the cryptic plea for help. The dispatcher promised to investigate, but unease settled over Alex like a heavy fog. The road seemed to stretch on endlessly, the isolation more pronounced than ever. The headlights cut through the darkness, revealing only the empty expanse. As they continued their journey, Alex couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. The rearview mirror held nothing but the vacant road, but an unsettling sensation lingered. It was as if a pair of eyes followed their every move. Minutes turned to hours, and just as doubt began to creep in, the phone rang again. The same unknown number flashed on the screen. Heart racing, Alex answered, anticipating answers or explanations. This time the voice was clearer, though still laced with distortion. "Beware, darkness. They're near." A chill ran down Alex's spine. "Who's near? What do you mean?" The voice grew urgent. "Turn back, before it's too late." Before Alex could respond, the call abruptly ended once more. Doubt and fear battled within them. Should they heed the cryptic warnings or dismiss the strange calls as a cruel prank? A sense of responsibility overcame their hesitation. They dialed 911 again, providing updates on the bizarre occurrences. The dispatcher's voice remained calm, but even through the phone, Alex could sense a growing unease. As the road wound through the desolate landscape, a flicker of movement caught their attention. A figure emerged from the shadows, stumbling along the roadside. Alex's heart raced as they approached cautiously, the blue glow of the phone casting an eerie light. The figure was disheveled, their clothes torn and face obscured. Alex rolled down the window and called out, "Are you okay?" The stranger's head snapped up, revealing hollow eyes that gleamed in the phone's light. Their voice, a haunting echo, matched the distorted calls. "Darkness. Closing in. Save yourself." Alex's pulse quickened. The pieces began to fall into place. The strange calls, the unsettling presence, the cryptic warnings. They stepped on the gas, the wheels screeching as they sped away from the eerie figure. Hours later, in the safety of their family's home, Alex shared the unsettling experience. The family exchanged glances, revealing a grim understanding. They explained that the region had long been rumored to be a hotspot for unexplained phenomena, with stories of lost souls and eerie encounters. As Alex settled in for the night, the haunting voice and hollow eyes lingered in their thoughts. The phantom roadside caller remained a mystery, a chilling reminder that the darkness can carry secrets beyond comprehension. And as the moonlit road stretched into the distance, Alex couldn't help but wonder what other secrets the night concealed, waiting to be discovered on the next journey into the unknown.